the nuclear reactor. Our next sensory faculty, besides eye, is the ear. And the ear hears sound waves. Now, the human ear can only hear sound waves between 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz. Right? So let's translate this hertz back into distance or wavelength. So a wavelength of 10 kilometers, very, very far away wavelength, is equal to 30 kilohertz. Okay. So 10 kilometers here. So it's within the realm of radio wave. Right. Again, we know there's reality in this region, even though we were unable to. Let's start here with the microwave. Right. Here, we don't recognize the reality here, but now everybody have a microwave oven at home. Again, science and technology has given us eyes and ears, which otherwise we would not have recognized that reality. Okay? So now we all know, oh yeah, microwave. We might not know what microwave is, but we're using it all the time. Okay. So there is a reality there, and now we recognize it. And then after microwave with radio waves, and we know that is true because we turn on our radio when we get into the car. So we believe in that reality now. But before radio was invented, we are ignorant of that reality. Okay? So this world out there, and the reality is actually a continuum. And the continuum is just waves. And wave is simply energy, whether it's lower energy or higher energy. There's a continuum of reality, and unfortunately the human sensory faculties are very, very narrow in terms of perceiving those realities. Now we compensate it by our science and technology, so that we now have a much better comprehension of the whole spectrum of reality in front of us. Okay? So seeing is believing, those are very outdated, very ancient things. So, still on the sense of sight, but ancient as it may be, when we say I see means I perceive, I understand, I discern, I comprehend, and I know. So, you see? Yeah, I see. So, see is a very important faculty which we sort of loosely relate to these perceptions of reality. Why? Because 70% of the human body senses are in the eye. 170 million rods and cones to look at things at night and in the daytime. So interesting thing is sometimes things are right in front of us, but we don't see them. For example, can you see your own nose? Try it now. Can you see your own nose? A little bit. Try again. Can you see it? A little bit. Yeah. A little bit. Yeah. We can actually all see our own nose, right? But we never see it. Okay? We never see our own nose, even though it's right in front of us, unless we intentionally try to look at it. Look at it. Now you can see it. Right? So, when we do not notice our nose, even though it is clearly visible to us. So sometimes to see, in fact, it means not to see. Right? Why is that? Why is something right in front of our eyes and we don't see it all the time? Well, it has to do with neural network, synapses, how one neuron and another communicate. And as a product of that communication of learning, we have what we call dimmer or damper effect. We choose to ignore things we see all the time. We choose, for example, I'm tired from Chin talking in this lecture. We choose not to listen to him and go to sleep instead. Or there's a certain threshold. If suddenly I speak very loud, then you might wake up. Okay? So I've exceeded that threshold. Then now that perception, that signal go in. So there's all these things going on, and the sensory faculty. How about magic tricks? We love magic tricks. Everybody loves magic tricks. We know it's fake, but we enjoy it. We see it, right? And we like to think they're real because they're entertaining. So that's when the eye actually deceives us. Okay? So seeing is believing. No, don't believe everything you see or everything you hear. So there's a very, very complex thing going on in terms of perceiving reality. And these are the prerequisites we must have so that we have a very open mind. Because if we don't have open mind, we can never tackle the big questions like the meaning of life, what is there a God, those things. We've got to keep an open mind. And to keep an open mind, we've got to understand how the mind works. Right? And before we go into understanding how the mind works, we have to understand, well, what are the sensory faculties that feeds the information to the mind. So this is what this lecture is about. So after sense of sight, this sensory faculty, let's move to the next, more, okay? Let's compare the vision between human and dog. Talking about perception of reality again. Okay? So how would the same object, how would dog perceive it different from human? Well, let's look at some of the facts here. The human vision is a flat plane. Because both our eyes is in one plane, so we see two-dimensional. Whereas a dog is recessed to both sides, so it actually is a 270 degrees reality. So he can see things on the side that we cannot see. That's one difference in the perception of the reality. Dogs can see things about a mile away, up to a mile away. They can recognize its owner from other people, for example. And, well, in the human vision, well, we all know, go to the optometrist and we read this, and that's something about 15, less than 20 feet away, and that's our limited vision. Dogs can see 4 times better in the dark because of all kinds of different anatomical structure built in the dog that is absent in human. One advantage human has is we are much less colorblind as dogs. Dogs are red-green colorblind, so they have 50% of reality. So, but generally speaking, we can say dogs have much more superior sight when it comes to sense of sight than human. So that means they can see a much wider and clearer reality than the human beings can. Now, let's move from dog to other things in the animal kingdom and compare that with human vision. Bees and many insects, they actually use ultraviolet light in the spectrum, which is not in the human reality. When we talk about that wavelength, the spectrum, the color rainbow spectrum, ultraviolet is of course beyond the human spectrum, but lots and lots of this, insects use it. Well, and insects today make up 85% of all the animal species. And very cool vision here from the eyes. How about the other end of the human spectrum? How about the red side? Well, infrared is again outside the human eye's capability to perceive, and yet we have so many other animals, snakes, even goldfish. They all use infrared, which is sort of, to us is heat sensing. Now in these days in the military, they have goggles with infrared sensing equipment. So that's how they see things, see the enemy at night. So again, we now recognize that world of reality because of